And welcome to Sociology and Coffee. Though I have my coffee here ready to go, I would like to give a shout out to The Blackness, who I purchased this shirt from. There are two graduate students that I know on a personal level who started this company just to celebrate and empower Black folks, especially right now. I think now more than ever, it's important for me to wear things that are showing, like being Black and proud. There's nothing wrong with being Black and proud. There's nothing wrong with empowering others through what you wear on your shirt. You don't know who you walk by who needs to see something like this, right? Like Black love, Black unity, Black magic, Black pride, Black power. And so if you want to order from The Blackness, you just go to theblackness.org. They also have an Instagram. It's the with 2 underscores and then Blackness. And yeah, just support local, support Black owned. And it kind of brings me a little bit, of course, I always want to be real and honest when I do these videos. And I do them like hopefully you know by now, unfiltered, unedited, on the spot. I woke up this morning, I've been thinking for a few days what I wanted to do a video on, which is why I have not uploaded one. But my heart is really pulling me towards this discussion about allyship and politics, about Trump specifically. And so, I'm a part of creating a Black community ally training with Dr. Wendy Stewart over at MiraCosta College. I was also a part of a Black Students Matter training with Dr. Bruce Hoskins and Edwina Williams over at MiraCosta College. And so my focus since the summer has really been on educating college, just the college, and this could be applied to any college at this point, but specifically the college that I started at, the college that I work at, and that means so much to me, educating people about the importance of seeing and understanding their Black students specifically. As a Black student who wasn't seen or understood in specifically K through 12, I now see the importance of having people who can really, really understand the type of baggage we bring with us when we come in the classroom. And I say baggage because it's almost like every day there's an attack on our humanity, whether that be police killings, whether that be statistics lingering over about your probability of ending up in prison, whether that be, Black women in maternal health, knowing that you are more likely to die in labor, your infant is more likely to die than white women. And so all of these things kind of linger in our lives about, how can we even function sometimes? It's like, how can we even function knowing that we have all of these barriers and people who don't believe they exist? And so that's kind of what I want to focus on a little bit for this video in particular is, can you call yourself an ally and still support someone like Donald Trump and still support people who don't value or apply humanity to Black bodies, to Black or brown bodies, to undocumented bodies, to Muslim bodies, to any of that, right? Like, can you really call yourself an ally and vote for somebody like that? And my answer is no, right? And so if you are still willing to vote for somebody who just banned, is in the process of banning diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings on a federal level for federal employees, you cannot call yourself an ally. And so what I'm doing now to educate faculty, staff, students, etc., is diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And so the fact that you don't want people, you call it anti-American, right? That was his terminology, is that teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion is anti-American propaganda. So if you want to talk about race, you want to talk about inequality, you want to talk about the historical context of communities in society, then you are anti-American. And therefore, you pull it out on the federal level where you're no longer going to require or allow cultural sensitivity training. This means cultural competency training. This means LGBTQIA training. All of these things are going to be pulled from a federal level if this is something that actually comes into fruition. But just the fact that he is going through the process and is willing to engage in this type of attack, because it feels like an attack to somebody like me. For people like almost everyone I work with is involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so to then not allow it or find it problematic, anti-American, whatever you want to call it, that's a personal attack. And I, for one, am sick and tired of feeling like we are constantly under attack. You know, an issue happens, you can insert whatever social institution in that blank space, right? So an issue happens, whether that be in education, in the prison industrial complex, in the workplace, anywhere. And people want to respond by educating folks on how we can avoid that in the future. How do we make these spaces more palatable, less dehumanizing for Black people? Because ultimately, that's what the focus of DEI training is. And I'm saying Black people to be specific, but you can insert any marginalized, historically marginalized group in that space. Why would we not want to better ourselves as a society to address these issues? We already teach false history. And I say false history because not providing both sides of the story, only reproducing the master narrative which is white male colonizer story, is excluding a complete half of the story. And therefore, that's false information. You're not providing all the information that we have. It's not like we have not had knowledge of what really happened in slavery and the real reason behind why they decided to steal African folks from their motherland. Why would we not want to talk about that? I'm having a hard time understanding why, and maybe that's because I live in a racialized body. I have always been racialized in my life, and meaning when people look at me, they see Black, right? Like I'm biracial, but when people look at me, they see Black and they respond accordingly. And so I have lived a racialized life. As someone who has lived a racialized life, I don't get to walk away from that. I don't get to have people ban that from existence. So what he's really doing is protecting white people. By protecting white people's comfortability and not forcing them to have uncomfortable conversations about where we are in society and the things that we're continuing to allow happen to marginalized groups. And so if you are someone who supports someone like that, and I could go on all day, but for the sake of time, I'm trying to keep these videos under 15 minutes. And there are many examples that I can give that would say, if you were to vote for blank, you do not care about blank group, right? Like we can go on all day about how politicians really don't support the most marginalized people in society. But like to be specific and to be real and to be in the moment right now, if you can support somebody like Donald Trump, and I'm not saying in comparison to anyone, I'm just saying period, end of sentence, then you are not an ally. You don't care about Black lives. You don't care about marginalized communities, and get out of the way. Stop performing, stop sharing Black Lives Matter, stop sharing, police killed X, Y, and Z person. Be true to who you are. If that is someone that you support and that you would want to vote for, to me, I don't care what other things he's trying to do, what other single issue things that you can say that he does right. Not valuing people and entire communities of people is enough reason for me, period. I don't care if he said he was going to wipe student loan debt straight clear. I don't care if he says he was going to cut the military budget straight. I don't care. This is the single issue that impacts my life on a day to day. And so if you can support someone like that, you don't love me, you don't support me, you don't love or support people who look like me. And so I just wanted to make that very clear. Most of you who know me already know that, but you know, I don't play a huge part in speaking my politics and saying who I would vote for and things like that. But this is an issue I need to make very clear. And so now it's clear. Thanks for joining. Cheers.